Hello and welcome. Today I have 5 puzzles for you rated for experts 2000 to 2200. And if you're a lower rated player, or even a higher rated player, you could still try these puzzles out. Feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you think. Uh, and pause at any time if you need to think longer. The move made by white was to push this pawn forward, attacking our queen, and also blocking a check by our queen. I guess we could count up material here. We have 7 pawns versus 7. We each have 2 minor pieces, 2 rooks, and a queen. So the action is taking place around this area. Our queen is under attack. What do we do? Maybe capture with the pawn, discovering an attack by a rook on their queen. But they could capture with their bishop and attack our queen again. So, maybe take. If they decide to go here, though, we would take their queen. If they took ours, we'd probably go after their knight. That would give them time to retreat their bishop that would be under attack by this pawn. And then maybe we could go after this pawn, but then they could probably take ours. So quite a bit going on here. Let's see. But let me double check everything. If we take here and they go there, we could move our queen. So they take, attacking our queen. What if we moved our queen first? We wouldn't want to take that. Well, we couldn't anyway. The queen is guarding that pawn. Okay, we also have possible capture there, attacking our bishop. But this seems to be the main action in this puzzle. So if we look at checks, captures, and threats. All right, the only checks we have, I guess we have a check here. Does that do anything? Is there any kind of follow-up? We take that. The king would probably just take. Then what? Then I don't really see a good follow-up. So I don't know. I'm thinking we should just take that. We have a discovered attack on their queen. They'll probably take, attacking our queen. Do we take? They take. Do we take the knight? All right, in order to prevent the video from dragging on forever, of course you want to try and calculate as much as you can in your head. So you can pause the video if you want to think longer. I'm going to go ahead and take that, and that's what they wanted. So now, probably just want to take here. Now what? We do have a bishop under attack by this knight. So if we take their knight, their bishop is still under attack here. could go after that. All right, so here we just end up a bishop ahead. And that was rated 2100. Okay, on to problem number 2. I hope you did well on that last one. Queen just captured, what, a pawn over here. Our king is just hanging out in the open quite a bit. So we probably need to do something in a hurry before we get harassed by this queen hovering over our king. Okay, material. We have 5 pawns. Our opponent has 6. And they're ahead by a bishop and a rook. Wow, so we need to go for a checkmate probably. So checks first. We have 1 check maybe. We go here. They could block with bishop or knight. The king could run. Okay, we have another check that's probably better. If we go here, backed up by the knight, the king cannot block, cannot capture, can only run to here. Then what? All right, so capture. King runs here. We could drop back, forking the king and the rook. The king would have to, but we probably need checks, because if we let up, he's going to start checking us with his queen. So capture with check here. King is forced to go here. We could drop back, forking the king and the rook. But do we have anything better? All right, check. King runs. We check again. The king is forced. Well, the king could block that check, but then we could capture. So maybe the king goes back to where he was. Then what? We just check back and forth. All right, I'm going to start this just so we don't have a 30+ minute video for only 5 problems. Okay. Is there anything we're missing? I mean, we have a knight check here. Does that do anything? Can't block a knight. The king can't run anywhere, so his only option would be to capture. Oh, and then that would lead to a mate. So here we go. That, because if they take, then our bishop could come up here, delivering the check, and the queen prevents the king from running anywhere. All right, that was rated 2010. On to problem number 3. A pawn is just pushed forward. So it's 2 pawns versus 2 and 2 rooks versus 2. Black has just moved. What can white do in this position? Well, white does have 2 rooks on the 7th rank, which is usually a great position to be in if you can accomplish that. Their king is really restricted here. You know, we could deliver a check, or we could try and, if we deliver a check, the king's just going to move left or right. So we could harass the king and try and get a draw. Or if we're going for a win, let's say we go all the way to here, threatening a mate on the next move. How can that be stopped? They would have to check us and we would take their rook. Or they could bring their rook over and attack along the a file, and then once again we could just take their rook. All right, that's probably the way to go. If we go all the way to the end where the king wouldn't be able to reach us, and they'll be forced to give up their rook with a check or something, or they could try and attack along the a file. So here we go. We'll go there, and now they just give up their rook, so we can take that, and on our next move, we could maybe go here depending on what their rook does. Well, I don't even think that matters. All right, on to problem number 4. Okay, the rook has just moved behind our passed pawn. That's usually a good place to put the rook. All right, they have what, 6 pawns? We only have 3, so we are behind here. We need to do something. We could move this pawn forward and the knight would be protecting it. But, if we want to look at checks first, maybe we have something better. Problem is, if we check the king with the rook, he can move out to here and our knight is unprotected. So maybe the goal is to get this pawn moving. The knight is covering the promotion square along with the rook. But if we go here, maybe on the next move we can check. The king would be able to go here. I don't know if that's a good follow-up. Our knight's under attack. What do we do with our knight? What if we check immediately? Once again, if we check with the knight, well, we could... Does it do anything if we check that way? They could still go here. Oh, we can swing our rook over to here and attack. All right. Let's see. If we check with the knight over here, it does block our pawn. If the king moves to the right, we could bring our rook over here and check, protected by this pawn. Okay, what do you think? What if we check, what if we check up here? King is forced to go here. Oh, wow, this might be it. Okay. Check, pause the video if you want to look at all this on your own. If not, check. The king has to go here, attacking our knight. We check again with the rook. The only thing that can be done is to capture the knight. Then our rook swings all the way around to here, and the pawn and his own pawn prevent the king from running. So check, check, and mate. So this is a great little pattern. The rook is covering through the middle, here, here. It's protected by the pawn. It makes a T. The only thing the rook does not cover are these 4 squares here. But 2 of them, he has his own piece blocking him, and the other 2 are protected by pawns. So that's a good pattern to know. All right, the final problem number 5. The king has just moved down here attacking our pawn, the base of the chain, the base of 2 chains, I guess. Or 2, I don't know, diagonal chains. Now, We're trying to move up the board in this direction. They're trying to come down. So if we take this unprotected pawn, they could take this. But then what? We could go after the next pawn. They could go after this pawn, and then their pawn is free to move. And it would take us longer to promote our pawn because we'd have to move our king out of the way and then take, what, 5 moves to get up there, including the king moving out of the way. That would be 6 moves. And this would only take, what, 4 moves for the pawn. So all right, I mean, this is the most obvious move. We take, he takes. Then if we go this way, well, then he could go that way. We take. He moves out of the way, protecting or going after our other pawn. And then he can start moving this pawn down. Wow. Okay. I don't know. This seems like the most logical move. But then he's going to go there. Oh. And then we push forward, guarding both of our pawns. And then what? Maybe that's what we have to do. Okay, we take, he takes. We push forward, guarding both of our pawns. He has to move to the side. He can't move one of it. If he moves the other pawn, we'll capture, and he can't move this one. So he'll probably, I don't know, move over here. So, okay, hold on. Take, take. We push forward. He moves over. If we go after this pawn, it's going to take 1 move to get out of the way and 5 moves to promote that pawn. In the meantime, it would take him 1 move to capture and only 4 moves to promote. So take, take. We push forward. He goes to the side. Maybe there's a pawn push that we could use, but I don't know. I don't think that works immediately. If we go there, he could just capture that way and then have 2 pawns moving. I mean, I guess we could go there. Wow. This is a great example of how complicated all pawn endings can be. And this is probably not a really crazy advanced ending because there's only a few pawns, but you get the idea. All pawn endings can quickly become complicated and a lot of calculation involved. All right, if I go here, or sorry, it's our turn. If we take that, he's going to take that. If we take the 1 pawn, he'll take ours, so we'd probably have to push forward. He's probably going to go here. Then what? It would take us 5 moves for that pawn, only 4 for his. And then he could harass us. All right, I'm just going to move these, make a move here. I don't know if this is going to be right. Okay, that's what they wanted. I'm guessing we have to continue this way. But now what? Oh, we push our pawn like that because we will have a check. See, he'll go here, we go there. He keeps pushing, we keep pushing. He promotes first, but then we promote with a check. Where does this king go? If he moves to the side, we could move down with a check. And then we really start harassing him, but we get the checks in first. All right, well, I hope you did well on these 5 problems. As always, feel free to leave comments, like, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and have a super chess day.